Hello everyone. Today we will be discussing the Diderot effect, named after the famous French philosopher and critic Denis Diderot. The spelling is Diderot. And the Diderot effect is the first of its kind and the best illustration of how less can be more and how more can conversely be less. So, Denis Diderot was a philosopher in France who was active in the late 1700s. And the story goes is that he lived a rather bohemian, meaning unorthodox, way of existence. But one of his admirers gave him a particularly luxurious velvet cloak. And the cloak was so special, it was very luxurious, at least to Diderot, that he cherished it so much so that in just a couple of days, he felt that the rest of his attire did not fit the mold of said cloak. And so he was eventually compelled to upgrade his wardrobe. He bought similar garments which were also velvet, which were also luxuriously created. And when he had already upgraded his wardrobe, he next felt that the house he was living in was not up to par with his garments. And so what he did was he also upgraded his furniture. He bought more special chairs, he upgraded his desk upon which he wrote. He had his books leather bound, which was a great deal at that time. And eventually, this tore a significant hole in his savings. And mind you, he wasn't a rich person to begin with. And ultimately, he cried, it was all because of that stupid garment. It was all because of that darn cloak. The Diderot effect has had many incarnations and many names in the years that went by. Some call it the hedonic treadmill. But basically, the point is the same. That oftentimes, when we start purchasing more, when we start desiring and having more, conversely, the more we will desire. The more we accrue, the more we become less satisfied. This is the Diderot effect. And essentially what happens is there is a baseline shift going on, a shift in one's baseline. That is, one's tastes become more refined such that what was previously, what was in the past considered a luxury is now, in the present, you consider basic, a standard. In the modern times, and this video is not that, we're not trying to disparage or critique anyone's lifestyle. As I always say, at the end of the day, it's your money, it's your finances. As long as you worked hard for that money and it's not ill-gotten, you can do whatever you want with it. But hopefully just bear in mind that a good example of this is how perhaps in the past, when we were all students, or when we were just in the first few weeks of our first ever job, Starbucks, CBTL, and other specialty beverage purveyors seemed like a luxury. Imagine a high school student who considered Starbucks, but then again, most high school students nowadays, it seems, they don't consider Starbucks a luxury anymore. But during my time and during our time, perhaps you can relate. If you were a student, you didn't have a stable job yet, you would consider these Starbucks, these specialty beverage companies, as a luxury. And perhaps at the most, you will only buy from them maybe once a month, maybe twice a month at the most, when you have saved up enough money for that frappuccino. But in time, when you already start earning and earning more than enough, Starbucks can already become a necessity. It can already become basic for you. Perhaps you will begin consuming it on a daily basis, sometimes more than once a day. And so it's not a luxury anymore because it is already your baseline. This is already the principle encapsulated more than 300 years ago in the Diderot effect, that we have to bear in mind that when we seek and desire for more, and when we do get that more will eventually become our baseline. It will become our normalcy. And so eventually, it will become our baseline. And we will yet again, in time, usually just a short amount of time, we will begin to desire yet again for more. And it is true that human desire is, after all, insatiable. Nobody can really be satisfied by accruing things that don't really last. Perhaps we'll do a separate video on that. But I think, and actually many philosophers would argue, that many people seem to be looking for something or some things in objects which are impermanent in the first place. They are looking for something else, but they are mistaking that these things, these objects, which will simply pass, can give them that which they are seeking for. But those things cannot be found in these impermanent fixtures. And so this is the Diderot effect. Again, we are not like that particular preachy channel. We don't try to preach anything here. If it's your hard-earned money, you have every right to use it however, whichever way you want to. But just bear in mind that the Diderot effect is a real possibility, and most likely it will be a possibility for you. Established more than 300 years ago, that the more we desire, the more we seek, and the more we accrue, the more we will also yearn for more. So it's a never-ending cycle. It's the hedonic treadmill, the contemporary term for it. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you again in our next video. Take care everyone.